Following programming is sponsored by Tom Toole III. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. And we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. And ladies, we got a jam-packed show today. We got an exciting guest coming in that's going to talk about pine straw. Anybody of you guys know what that is before we showed up here today? Stacey, you did, right?
I have friends that live in the South.
Okay. Pretty interesting. So Katharine Strock's going to come in. She owns Mid-Atlantic Pine Straw. They're based out of Chester County. She'll be coming in for the last segment. We're going to talk about Inman's advice for new agents. There's 89 tips for new real estate agents. We're not going over all of them. We can talk about the ones that are most effective. And what we're going to lead off with is a really interesting story coming from Housing Wire. And the reason I find this interesting is that it talks about confidentiality. And before we get into it, just a reminder, we're streaming on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check us out there. Subscribe to the channel. We'll keep this content coming. So with this story on Housing Wire, there was a lawsuit that was involved with a Miami mansion and who purchased the property. So what the story says here, and let me wait for it to come up. I don't want to get the details wrong. And I found this really interesting. So the short of it is that there is an agent down in Miami, and she is under fire. Her name's Jessica Adams. She works with One Sotheby's International Realty. And the TechCrunch co-founder and crypto investor Michael Arrington went on Twitter last week on Tuesday and alleged that Adams leaked out information about his purchase of a Miami waterfront mansion to the press that created a ton of security concerns that forced him and his family to relocate. And what they went on to say was that despite their best efforts, that people found out where they lived. There was a threat about doxing. I don't even know what that is, so we're going to Google that here. You guys know what doxing is by chance?
Like exposing someone's personal information.
Bingo, right? Search for or publish private information. Stacey for the win. Very good. Thank you for helping me with my vocabulary. So there was a threat about doxing, how it harms people, and how it harmed his family. And it brought up a more interesting question about ethics of agents leaking information, photos, and videos to the press about where they live, who lives where. So what do you ladies think about all this?
Well, I think as agents, we are held to high standards here. Like, we have to protect confidential information. So, I get why some agents, they want to build their reputation, their business.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they haven't even thought the process through thoroughly, and maybe they don't understand, or they don't want to understand how some of these things that they do create these security situations for people or for homes. So I think that we have to be very mindful of everything, all paperwork, any kind of electronic files, what we post on social media. I think that's really important because things can, as you're doing a simple video through someone's house, there's a lot of things that can be picked up.
Yeah, I agree. I think that with social media being what it is today and wanting to go out there and show what you're working on, showing the listings, showing the homes that you're touring and stuff, you see a lot of agents posting that. And you do have to be hypersensitive to what it is that you're putting up. I think in this case, too, it was saying that they were actually going through a trust and taking extra measures in order for their basic information, like their names, to not be made known. And so especially if you know that these heightened security measures are going in place, you would think that you would be a bit more cognizant of that situation. Also, if you're dealing with a lot of these, I think it was listed at like 16 million, went for like a little over 10. All the homes in that neighborhood, I think, were listed around 10 million. So you're dealing with a type of clientele here where you'd think you'd be a little bit more aware of what you're doing there. I mean, you obviously want to get your name out there showing that you're doing these types of listings, but, being mindful of what's going on.
I think it's more than just for the price range. I'll actually, it doesn't matter whether the home's $150,000,
Yeah.
it's $16 million. We don't sell those kind of properties around here. That's okay. But I would say that there are sensitive issues here. I mean, what if you have like a crazy relative that's after you, right? What if you are dealing with a situation where there's like a nasty divorce going on? Like there's so many things that can come up besides just someone being famous and have a lot of money. The story here, it's pretty alarming. So on Twitter, Arrington wrote that the home purchase was leaked to the press by Adams. While the exact location wasn't shared based on the information that was disclosed, it was trivial to determine its exact location. Apparently, she had it was listed on the local MLS as a pending sale, and it officially sold back in May of last year. And then initially, the agent denied leaking the information. And then she had a couple quotes that appeared in articles discussing the sale, and she admitted going to the press claiming that the confidentiality agreement, was not valid. And then she emailed Real Trends and said, I handled this listing and there was no confidentiality or non-disclosure agreement in place. So here's where I have a problem with this. I don't know the laws down in Florida. I'll be the first one to tell you. What I do know is that we all have a code of ethics we follow, and I know what the consumer notice says in Pennsylvania. And the first thing, like it literally says, you have a confidentiality responsibility to your clients. So now, if she didn't work with the buyer, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But people have access to the public records, and because they went through a trust, to your point, like they were intentionally trying to do this. So, I don't think enough agents really take this seriously is really the problem. Like people gossip, they talk. In Pennsylvania, there's absolutely confidentiality responsibilities. And you guys mentioned like going through the homes and like videoing or doing that sort of stuff. Like people have now. We instruct our clients like, hey, put your private stuff away. Like you have to be very careful there. People leave out things that can maybe not a doxing situation. It's my new word for the day. Instead, it might hurt their ability to negotiate. I mean, there's so many different things that happen here. I see agents sometimes they post like, oh, it's offer time on Instagram, and then they have the address of the property like on the well, what if you're bidding on that, right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So with that, I mean, do you think agents take this too lightly overall in the industry? Not obviously our organization. I mean, tell me more about what your reaction is here, because this woman basically said she came out and said, hey, the agreement wasn't valid. I didn't know you needed a confidentiality agreement to make it valid. That's kind of my observation.
Right. It's kind of a given that, you keep things confidential, especially for everybody involved. I mean, that's just ethically and morally right. What I found pretty alarming is that she also did a video walkthrough of the house and posted it to her Instagram account, but it was done after the sale closed. So that would kind of be like trespassing on private property at that point.
Did she go in after it closed? Was that how it worked?
Well, it says that she did a walkthrough video tour of the house on her Instagram account after the sale officially closed.
Okay. Well, I guess the question, I mean, and we don't know, it sounds like.
We don't know, but
okay.
That to me is like a major violation right there. But yeah, there's so many things, especially I find it fascinating with lockboxes and codes. If you look on some listings, it'll say, agents, do not give out lockbox code
right.
to buyers. And buyers must be accompanied at all times through the showings or to the showing. So this kind of stuff really does happen if agents have to reiterate that and actually post that on the MLS.
Right. I mean, I would say, the best way to go about anything is obviously keep information confidential, unless if the your client says it's okay to share something. If it's something that they feel may, either help on the buy side, like, let them know my situation, or on the sell side. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to line up a buy sell, like, being given the go-ahead for as offers come in to kind of let them know, like, hey, this is the timeline that we're trying to hit, or this is when we need this to happen. It's stuff that just like structures the deal to benefit everyone. But just giving the whole spiel of what's up with the buyers or this whatever side you're on is, I mean, it's appreciated when somebody on the other side kind of gives you a little more, but best thing to do is keep it close to the chest.
I really question agents that when they give that too much information, because it could hurt. They think they're helping and it ends up hurting in a lot of situations. And this particular agent, I mean, she sold $34.6 million worth of Florida real estate last year, and she was number 173 in the state for top individual agents. So this is not some rookie agent or not some novice or someone that doesn't know what's going on. She's obviously closed a lot of transactions. What's alarming to me is that I don't think people really take this seriously enough. I mean, we have policies at our team. I mean, even if it's, and think about the way inventory is right now. Someone goes around and says, I'm writing an offer on this house. Well, if you're around 50 agents, I would imagine someone else is pursuing that home as well because there's nothing out there. That would be the first one. And the second one, this can cost people money. I mean, I've even seen agents that they ask another agent, hey, what are you working on? And use that information against them to get the house. I mean, it's so... This goes so deep. So how do you tell your clients how to deal with this stuff? Because we know that agents shouldn't be. They just should say nothing. Is kind of the. I mean, am I wrong here, or is it just like don't talk about anything, and honor that confidentiality agreement? That's really a responsibility more than anything else. How do you advise your clients here? Like a seller's getting ready for the market. What are you telling them? A buyer is getting ready to put their, go look at a home. What are you telling them? Because there's a couple things I don't think people are aware of that even come into play right now when it comes to confidentiality.
Well, for sellers, as they're prepping the home and we're getting ready for even pictures, I just make sure that they're fully aware of the potential of buyers, many, many buyers coming through, and everyone's always taking pictures or video. So if you have anything personal, anything that you don't want on video or in pictures, definitely remove it from the house, pack it up, put it away. It's really, really important that sellers understand that, especially if it's, the market the way it is today. Sellers are usually packing up for the weekend and kind of opening up their house to many, many buyers. So you have so much foot traffic through. So I think it's just really important that sellers understand that it could be something very simple that they're overlooking. Like you had mentioned earlier, Tom, a calendar on the refrigerator.
Yeah, it says, hey, closing on my new construction home, right? Well, all of a sudden, they're a little more motivated. I mean, that's a real life example, too. Like I've seen that happen many times. So go ahead.
And then for buyers, one thing I instruct them on is, people have different devices in their homes that are recording and listening, and it's not always that they're like setting this up to try and catch the individual, but you have your Ring doorbells, you have just your devices within the home that are listening, and there absolutely are sellers that will come back and then kind of re-look through or re-listen through. So if there's anything, if we're gonna talk about the offer or talk about how we want to position ourselves, I always let them know, like, we'll meet, we'll talk about all that after we're out of the house when we're like out at the cars, just so they're not accidentally giving away too much information.
That is great advice, because people do, even though it's illegal to do.
Right.
Like it says, people still do it because there's no way to track it, but it says like specifically in the listing contract, it's illegal to do that. Now, not in all states. Like New Jersey's only a single party consent state, so it's a little different, but Pennsylvania, you need a two-party consent for any sort of recorded information. So here's what the Code of Ethics says nationally for realtors. So it's not just Pennsylvania. The obligation of realtors to preserve confidential information as defined by state law, so that's obviously going to vary, provided by their clients in the course of any agency relationship or non-agency relationship recognized by law, continues after termination of the agency or non-agency relationships recognized by law. Then it says realtors shall knowingly during or following the termination with their clients do a couple things. One is reveal confidential information. 2, use confidential information of clients to the disadvantage of clients. Or 3, use confidential information of clients for the realtor's advantage or for the advantage of third parties, unless client consents after full disclosure, realtors are ordered by the court, it's the intention of the client to commit a crime, or it's necessary to prevent a crime, or it's necessary to defend a realtor or the realtor's employees against accusation of wrongful conduct. So based on that, this agent in Florida sounds like they're in some trouble, would be my observation. I mean, this looks pretty cut and dry. I love what you said about putting stuff away and confidential information. I would even go as far as like pictures. And I've been in homes where there's been like Emmy awards and like people are like, oh, who lives here? And like as realtors, we can look up, you're going to find out who owns the property. It's going to be on the agreement of sale. And that's information people are entitled to because they want to know who they're dealing with. But people just should put all personal stuff away so there's no judgment about it whatsoever. I mean, you'd be surprised what happens. And you can't vet everyone that comes through the house. You can vet them, but they can still lie to you or tell you something else. The recording thing is so true. I mean, that's probably the best piece of advice that's going to come out of this, because I've seen sellers like call me and they're like, hey, the buyer's interested. And I said, the showing ended 5 minutes ago. That's pretty impressive. No, I listened on my Amazon Alexa, and this was before the listing contract got changed. I said, that's illegal to do, so why don't you just stop telling me whatever you heard right now? And then they're like, what do you mean? It's my house. And they don't know the laws, which I think that's a good move for Pennsylvania to put that in the listing contract. So, with that, when it comes to confidentiality, I mean, how do you treat this? I mean, my view is that once I hear something from somebody, unless it's required by law to disclose, like the seller saying, hey, the septic failed or there's a leak in the roof, besides that sort of stuff, I mean, my view is we just got to zip it and be done with it. I don't think there's really much you can say. Is there anything we're missing here? Because this story is just so out of whack to me. I'm pretty surprised by it.
Yeah, I think you just zip it. Like if the sellers or you find something out, you just have to hold it, like Sarah said, right? Hold it to your chest. You can't disclose this information. Again, I'll go back to, we're held at higher standards.
100%.
We have to keep this business is very professional, so it's our reputations at stake here. And plus, like this article, obviously the lives of people, the true life of this family who were doxxed. But you'd be amazed at how much information buyers can actually Google and find out about sellers anyway on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they'll come to a showing and they'll say, oh, well, I heard the buyers of this, that, and the other. And I have no clue. I mean, I said that wrong. The sellers. Yeah, I heard the sellers are this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, that I don't know. Let's just, continue. I just avoid it like the plague. I don't even entertain any of that stuff. To me, it is gossip.
Right. And I mean, you certainly do work with different clients who are more inclined to Google everything, look everything up, and they do. And then they like spit all this stuff at you, and you're kind of like, I mean, I don't know. Like I didn't go that deep into like researching the behind the scenes like facts about the sellers. Like, you want to go over the seller's disclosure? Absolutely. You want to talk about the house? Let's do it. You want to talk about like the sellers themselves? Like, I know. So, and I mean, I think you also touched on another good point there about, I think you'd said something about like our reputations. And for this agent, whatever amount of whatever she was going for out of doing this, I mean, I think that this is going to come back no matter what the results are of her being sued and of that. I mean, I think that's something that people will remember when they would be involved in a transaction with her, especially if there's somebody who's really trying to keep that buttoned up and not have their name get out there. I mean, they went as far as, again, as we talked about, putting this in a trust so that even their names weren't known as the documents were going through.
Think about what you just said there, that the reputation is being lost and how quickly that happens, and they're trying to gain something. And I mean, how many times have we heard stories of like people spend years and then it's one stupid thing they do and all of a sudden they lose it all. And you mentioned about Googling sellers, right? You think this agent this isn't going to be like the number one search on Google? In fact, let's try this right now. So we're going to Google Jessica Adams, realtor. Let's see what comes up. So not too bad yet, but I would imagine this story is going to move its way up the chains here. And let's see what's on the now.
She may have hired a really good PR firm that will scrub the internet.
Well, now this just happened too.
Okay.
So, but it's so I give her credit that, I mean, maybe she did hire a good PR firm, but I mean, if I was, and let's take it one step further. If I knew this and I was interviewing against this person, you think I wouldn't bring that up? I mean, I absolutely would. Be like, hey, can I tell you what makes me nervous? I've had agents that have moved out of the state and I'm interviewing against them, and I've said, hey, do you know that your realtor that you're talking to doesn't live in the state anymore? And it just doesn't even come up. And it's so she's going to get hurt by this. I mean, I think this is, and I don't know what there was to gain. There was a lot to lose, to your point. So, on that note, don't tell anybody anything ever in real estate transactions is kind of the takeaway here, but confidentiality is real, and I think you need to treat that very, very seriously is kind of the takeaway here. So what we're going to do on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the 89 tips for new agents in 2022 from Inman. This is Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, tomtoole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliance's Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America is equal housing lender, NMLS 1285001.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Michael. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. We've got Gabe putting us on the live stream here on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And again, we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. And we're going to talk about something next here. I found this article really interesting. It was Inman's 89 tips for new real estate agents in 2022. And what they did was they went out and they asked all kinds of agents who are doing lots of transactions, lots of sales, one question: what's your advice for agents launching careers in 2022? And some of this was a little repetitive. I went through there and I'm like, okay, you changed like 3 words. That's great. They had a lot of different topics, from getting started, choosing a focus, choosing your market, which I don't know that a lot of people can choose that unless you're relocating, lead gen, nurturing leads, the transaction, staying educated, teams, virtues, self-care, all sorts of stuff. I'd love to talk to you two, and I've got my list here as well. Maybe the 3 or 4 best pieces of advice that we each found, because if you get more than 3 or 4 things, you're not going to do any of them. That's usually my observation. So it's, as a new agent coming in, I would see this and be like, great, how do I implement all 89? I'd probably lose my mind. And I think that's the one reason I don't love the way the article was formatted. So what were your takeaways here? And maybe we can each kind of jump in with our top one, then number 2, number 3, and then we'll just kind of run through a couple of these and see what makes sense. Because there's a lot of people that want to get into real estate. An agent got licensed every 7 seconds last year. We're at the highest number of agents all time again heading into 2022. So this is something I'm sure a lot of people want to know about.
So I think it's funny that they picked 89. Some thought must have been put into that for let's get 89, because I think it could have been boiled down to, a lot of them were pretty repetitive. I think the most common thing that came up here was really about structuring your day and lead gen and how much time needs to be put into that part in order to sustain your business. So, lead generation and putting that time aside, I think hit in every single one of these categories. And that's what's going to sustain you through, and that you have to stick with it.
Yep. I agree. Well, that's the backbone.
Yeah.
That's and trust the process. Definitely trust the process.
Yeah. Don't rise when it's bad, but sink to your training. What was?
So you don't rise to the occasion. You sink to your training.
Right.
When the going gets tough. That's good. No, that's a great point.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good points in here. I would have to say that just a couple of real basic things. Be nice. That's like my big thing. Just,
Oh, my goodness.
Just be nice, okay? You know, Tom and I talk a lot about some of the not so nice people out there that we have to work with. And it's not so fun. You know, it makes it really miserable. But be nice. The other thing, too, is the 3-second funeral. So, like, you get kicked in the gut, like, daily sometimes when you're trying to, you know, get some deals under contract or go through some inspections. So when something negative happens, when something falls through, give yourself only 3 seconds. That's it. 3-second funeral, be done. Because in the very next 5 minutes, you could get an email in your inbox that somebody wants to, you know what, we do want to pursue that new construction that we saw on Saturday. How do we sign the contract? So, you know, you go from really bad to really good in a matter of seconds. So that would be my advice. Be nice. Give yourself a 3-second funeral when the negative happens. And remember, it's service and not sales. So
That's good. Yeah, that was from our coaching call today. That
Yep.
wasn't even in the article. So shout out to Jeff Mays. Thanks. He's our team coach.
Yeah, and I think that carries through to so many of the different other points that they touched on. Like if you put your client first and focus on helping them and getting them through the transaction, whether that's guiding them through, you know, some tedious parts where, like, honestly, they could be shooting themselves in the foot or walking away too soon, or helping them, you know, if this isn't the right one for you, you know what I mean? Like helping guide them through. If you have their best interest in mind throughout the process, I think that carries through to, you know, having that mentality of not being overly salesy and of following up. And I think another thing they really touched on was like, do what you say you're going to do and pick up your phone.
Love that.
Yes.
So I grouped this a little differently than you did. So the first group I came up with, and this to me is number one, and there was 3 that were all the same. Prospect 24/7, video follow-up works, and set aside time for follow-up. It's kind of all the same, but different tactics there. What the reason I hit that first is that so many agents, they rely on like, oh, I got the best technology, it's going to bring me business, or I got the best CRM, it's going to help me. You know what really works in getting sales? Picking up the phone and like calling people or texting them or using video to follow up. And to me, the biggest reason a lot of agents don't do well is they don't want to make those calls. They're afraid to reach out to people. They don't take that activity on a daily basis that seriously. So I thought that was the best piece of advice first and foremost. And you know, that any new agent out there, like if you just sit on the phone for 2 hours a day, good things are going to happen over time. And you mentioned trust the process, right? You have to know that it's not going to happen right away. And one of the subsets of that first piece of advice was that success comes in waves. So the appointments come in bunches, right? Sales come in bunches for a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to speak for you guys, but have you had a time where like you had a slump and all of a sudden like you popped like 5-6 deals out of nowhere, right? Like it happens all the time. So it's not going to be that daily flow of like, okay, I need to get one sale today and one sale on. It never goes by the plan. But if you keep your actions consistent, that's going to work. So that was my first one. The second one I wanted to get your take on. I thought this was pretty interesting. This came from Kendall Butler from FLI Properties in Georgia. You're an educator, not a salesperson. Tell me what you think about that.
Definitely be the knowledge broker. So you want to provide information to the buyers and to sellers because you want them to have all the information that they need to make the right decisions, to make the best decisions for their situation. So bring forth all the information that you can instead of trying to just nail down a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think it takes the pressure and the liability, if you will, off of you because you're saying this is the scenario, like this is what's up, these are the possible outcomes, this is the way it looks. Not like if you're so focused on like just getting them under contract for X house, then, you know, if that's not the right move ultimately, like you feel bad, you know, but if you provide them with the information and let them make the choice, they had all of the pieces and it was their decision to move forward how they wanted to.
The clients can also feel what you're talking about. Like we've seen the agents where they got commission breath and it's all about, I got to get this thing closed. And it's if you don't put the person before the property, because look, someone's got to live in this house, right? Like we're not dealing with like commercial investments or different things. I mean, sometimes it's an investment property, sure. And to be the educator, you also have to know what the hell you're talking about. So if you're not spending the time boning up on market statistics, how the 10-year Treasury bill works and affects mortgage rates, all these things that people talk about now, because the buyers today are more well-informed than they were 15 years ago. The sellers today are even more well-informed than they were 15, 20 years ago. The clients are going to sniff that out because there's so much competition right now. So I love what you said, that you have to make sure that you're not coming off that way. You point out what's there, but then you also have to have that like real conversation too, that, so, hey, Sarah, we've looked at 7 other homes, and this is the only one you rated a 5.5 out of 7. Everything else was 3 and less. We're not seeing anything else, and I know you've got to, and then you go through what they're, and I always bring it back to their motivation, because the emotions do get in the way. Mm-hmm. But that's not sales. That's educating them on making a logical decision for their household. And I think there's a big difference there between what salespeople think, because a lot of salespeople, they think, I got this great objection handle, it'll close any sale, or I could sell ice to an Eskimo or something like that. I mean, it's like all those different things that come up. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. It's just being consultative. So I thought that was really good. Do you guys have any others that jumped out at you here? I got a couple more. I don't want to talk over the whole segment here.
Why don't you give us your next
All
one?
right, good. Okay, I will. So the other one I found interesting was like, find a mentor or join a team or an organization that's going to give you opportunities. Because I know what it was like when I started. I was literally like looking people up on the white pages and calling down a street. It was not great. So now I was obviously a lot younger. It was a different time, and like the internet Zillow wasn't a thing, right? All these places weren't there. To me, though, to get started, having it's more about confidence than anything else. Because if you're sitting there 3, 4, 5, 6 months not doing anything, I mean, I think about going another direction. I don't know what you guys would have done.
For sure. Yeah, because then you would be wondering, well, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? But yeah, if you surround yourself with, like-minded people that are motivated and they can offer support like we have, I'm feel very fortunate with our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the support is just amazing. So you know that whatever's going on, there's somebody that you can reach out to at all times, just for if you just want to bounce something off of somebody, get another opinion, maybe just, vent a little bit. But there's always somebody there. So, and yeah, find a mentor. Look up to that person that's doing more sales than you. And what are they doing? Grab their ear and see if they can offer some advice or just, dive into their daily day. But I think mentors are awesome. Mastermind groups are phenomenal. It's just great to get somebody else's perspective, and to be on a team is just amazing. So that's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, sometimes you have all of the right pieces, but the way that you're presenting them isn't getting you the results that you want. And seeing how somebody who is getting things done, how they're doing it. I mean, it could be a little tweak that you can do to adjust that could make all of the difference. And, being part of a team, if something comes up in inspections or something, different issues come up, talking to somebody who, hey, well, this is what happened in this case, and here's how we were able to get around it. Sometimes you get solutions that you wouldn't have thought of on your own. There's definitely some synergy that goes on being around, people that are doing things properly, and, they can help motivate you.
Well, in the group you're around, you're going to end up like behaving and acting life. And I mean, we spend a lot of time together just working, because that's what most people do. I remember when my son went to first grade, he goes, I'm probably going to be with you as much as your kids as much as you are. And I was like, wow, I feel like a really crappy dad right now. But then he's like, no, think about it. And it was a good point. And it's not just joining a team. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased on how we approach this here, and I'm sure you guys are too. But like, there's a couple other ways to do this, right? Like, so some of the advice here was do your research before you decide where you want to work. I think that is so critical, because like sales, most people just go with the first person they talk to, and they don't realize what else is involved. So having the right support is going to be really critical, and just getting a feel if you even want to be there. I think that's as important as anything else. People do business with people that they like. So, it's a relationship business. So you need to be in a place where you feel good about the people you're around. Because some brokerages, like it's not like that. I mean, it's a little more cutthroat, and there's a lot of competition. Befriending other top producing agents, I think, is a great one. And it doesn't have to be locally. I think that's where people get a little hung up. when you do things outside your market, people are a lot more willing to share because you're not necessarily competing with them. So that's where, coaching and that sort of stuff can help. Find a mentor you respect, constantly educate yourself and pass it on. And then, when someone asks you for help, do the same thing. Listen to podcasts, it was all, and then it went on to also, find someone that's like doing the stuff you want to do, right? Like find a busy agent or a busy listing agent or something like that. So the environment is going to lead to a certain kind of success. I'm really clear. And it's actually going to multiply your efforts than if you're trying to do it on your own and work on an island. So that was my second big takeaway. The third one I had, and this one I found really interesting, was about like self-care. Tell me what you guys are doing for self-care right now. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Boy, that's so important, self-care, because it can get lost.
Yeah.
Like in this business, it can totally first thing you dump is your self-care.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm just always been a healthy eater, so I try to eat real clean. I've been doing that since my early 20s. But I used to be a Doritos and iced tea kind of chick. But
as I'm drinking this tea.
That's okay. No,
Stacey has like 8 cups of coffee a day, so we all have our vices. So
right, but it doesn't have sugar in it, so that's a good thing. But yeah, so healthy eating, because that is your fuel. That's going to give you the energy to keep going. And also, you have to do some kind of stress reliever, whatever it is, whether you exercise, but you have to take care of the body. So that's like top priority. And don't ignore signs of your own health. If your body's telling you something, you have to address it.
Yeah.
Don't, if you got that internal pain and it's been going on for 6 months, a year, go have it looked at. Go get it. It's good to go to the doctors. But yeah, self-care is priority, and try to get sleep. I know that's tough, but especially when you got some deals that are like rattling in your head and you're up at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, self-care is imperative in this business.
Yeah, there's like some funny memes out there, I feel like, for like realtors trying to fall asleep and then like, did I lock the door to that showing that I was at earlier today? Yeah, you can definitely like let your mind race. So, yeah, I would say, definitely eating healthy. I know I've been trying to just be more present in the moment. So, when you're doing something with family, like, unless if you have something that is going on with a deal or something that you need to be aware of, like, take your time with them to be with them, and then you can like be more open and focused on what you've got going on other times. I feel like I've certainly in different times tried to multitask too much to where it ends up like then you're just all over the place. So, just kind of focusing.
So those are all really good, and I love being present because a lot of realtors see them like on their phone all the time, and they're like checking their email every 30 seconds, and that's not healthy for anybody for a lot of reasons. What they came up with in the article here was eat healthy, think healthy. So I think that's something we kind of hit on, and they also talked about making sure that you're like going to the gym, like some sort of physical activity, whatever that looks like, and having like a routine and a schedule, because if when you're going to turn it off, and then you got to like make sure you're actually turning it off then, because we all talked about it. It's really easy to let this stuff like bleed into your free time, and then you get like a ticked off spouse, or your kids are like, Dad, what the hell are you doing? Or at least that's what my kids say, verbatim. But so the point is that I think you have to figure out a way you're going to take care of yourself, because in this business, it's so go all the time. If you really want to, like when you're on, you're on. But when you're off, you should be off. It's kind of like that alter ego thing where like the door opens to the listing appointment. You could be having the worst day ever, and you better be smiling, ready to close that thing. And if it's not, that's okay too, but you shouldn't be in the appointment. It's so kind of like what you're being present, whatever you're doing. So those to me were the 3 big takeaways. Now, at the same time, if you're a new agent, you better be ready to put some hours in. Like, I don't want to sit here and tell new agents, hey, great, you can have this like easy schedule. When you're getting started anything, you got to work a little harder at the beginning, and then it gets easier as you go. And that's where, the fourth thing I saw here, and then we'll take a quick break, was like skill building and role play. Like practice your scripts, practice your dialogues, get your system set up. And I think that's an obvious thing. That kind of goes with the first one there. So anything else you guys heard here or saw in the article you think we should hit on, or are we ready to? We pared down this 89-point list pretty effectively.
Yeah, I think we hit a lot.
Well, we're going to call it right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We have Katharine Strock here, and she is going to talk about her company, which is Mid-Atlantic Pine Straw. Very exciting. I think there's a lot to unpack here. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, TomToole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
All right. We are back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. And we have Katharine Strock here with Mid-Atlantic Pine Straw, which we're really excited to talk about your company. It's a really cool company. It's a woman-owned company with a sustainable product. And just a reminder that Stacey, Sarah, and I all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. So, Kat, first off, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So, little known fact is that Brian from our team has been on the show before. They're like next door neighbors with Kat and her husband Bill, and Bill was my neighbor when I was like 5-10 years old out in Chester Springs. So there's a lot of connections here, which is pretty wild. So I'm really excited to dig into your company here. So it's a woman-owned business, which I think is really important. Tell us a little bit about it, because this is not something that's like normal for our area versus like down south.
Yeah, so pine straw mulch is sustainable and renewable, unlike other types of hardwood mulch. And we grew up here, like you said, in Pennsylvania. I lived in the Carolinas for many years and came to love pine straw mulch, which is actually pine needles from the longleaf pine tree. And when we were relocated back here, we found that a lot of people that live in the north wanted the look that they use in the south. So restarted the business here. We had started it in the south, and it took off and is growing more and more each year. So now people all the way up to Maine can get pine straw, and we distribute all the way up there, and as well as all the way down to like the Baltimore, Virginia area as well.
Wow, that's a pretty large distribution channel. So, I mean, what kind of made you want to get started with the company up here? Because I didn't even know about this until Brian had like reconnected us here. I mean, I don't know about you two. I've never seen anything besides like black mulch or red mulch. Like, this is totally new to me, and certainly the photos and everything looks great, and there's some environmental benefits too.
Yeah, so the biggest differences are that it's super easy to install. So I can carry 2 bales myself, whereas with regular hardwood mulch, you need a wheelbarrow, you need to scoot that around the yard and use a pitchfork. And so it's super easy to install. You just need your hands. And the other benefits, obviously, are that it comes from a pine tree, so the needles are falling anyhow. We're not tearing down trees and shredding them up and using a lot of resources. So that reduces our carbon footprint immensely. So that's huge when it comes to environmental benefits. And like I said, it's renewable and sustainable. And so those are the main environmental benefits. And people really like the aesthetics of it. So we supply Longwood Gardens and the beer garden with pine straw.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people will go there and they see it and they would like to have it at their home. So we deliver to residences as well as landscapers, distributors, all different homeowners associations. Yeah.
What made you want to get started in this?
Really, it started just, a love of landscaping and different things for the yard that make it look nice and that are easy to use and good for the earth. Like I said, we lived in the Carolinas, and there wasn't a good distribution and ordering format available. So we thought there was an e-commerce opportunity available. And so we took it upon ourselves to start online ordering and just a more streamlined process. Even with hardwood mulch, there isn't a good, efficient process. So we feel like being able to order online is efficient and yeah.
I love the look at it of it. I didn't even know about this until I have friends that move south, and she had posted pictures of her freshly laid pine straw mulch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? It looks so cool. So now I didn't even know we could get this in this area. So, quick question: if you already have the mulch around your house, do you have to remove that in order to put this in place?
So that's a question we get all the time. No, you don't. So you can just put the pine straw mulch down over top of whatever mulch you have, and no need to take it up or anything like that. And a lot of people also wonder how often they need to put it down. So it's really a matter of personal preference. We recommend at least 1 to 2 times a year, but if you want to freshen it up in the fall or the summertime, you can put a fresh layer down. But yeah, no, you don't have to take up the existing mulch.
That's good. It saves a lot of work.
Have you guys ever mulched your own yard before? Like
All the time,
it is
yeah.
a nightmare.
It is a
I mean,
nightmare.
I love just the ease factor here because
Yes.
you can just carry. I mean, you got to dig out the old mulch, get rid of it. You got to dispose of it. It's a total pain. So I think that is really appealing for a lot of people like myself that hate yard work in the first place. So that's really cool.
So where do you have like a pine tree orchard, and then you go around and like, what does the process look like, or where are the trees at?
Sure. So like I said, all longleaf pine trees now are located in the southeastern part of the U.S.
Okay.
The longleaf pines growing area has been reduced just due to development and that kind of thing. So as a group of longleaf pine trees is called a stand. That's the technical term. So it's tracts of land that are purposely used for growing longleaf pine trees. So we have folks who rake the pine needles, and then they're baled by hand and then loaded onto a tractor trailer, and we have it inspected before we transport it up to this area. And so it comes from the southeastern part of the U.S. South Carolina specifically is where our pine straw comes from. Yeah.
And then are they, I guess, after they rake them up, do they get like dried out in like somewhere, or like hung up? Or I guess they wouldn't be hung up, they'd be way too little. Like, is there a process there for drying them, or is it just they're ready to go once you rake them up?
Yeah, so they're already dry when they're being raked, and then they're kept dry when they're on the trailer. And when we deliver them, people ask, do I need to cover them with a tarp? You can, and it does help, but they can get wet. It just makes them a little heavier to carry the bales around.
Okay.
Yeah, but you had mentioned about the needle being short, so longleaf pine.
Oh, I guess they have long needles.
Are longer than you see up here in the north. The needles are anywhere between like 8 and 16 inches in length, so that makes them really good for mulching because the needles kind of lock together and don't wash away with the rain and the wind.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a real problem too, because like we get some really bad rainstorms here, and then you always see like along the edge of the house, like the mulch just gets spit up somewhere and I just get so annoyed by this stuff because I don't want to deal with it. I just want it to be there. I'm probably like the worst yard person that's out there because I just hope someone else does it for me. That's what we pay them for. But I think that alone is a really cool factor here, despite in addition to the sustainability.
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of people, especially on hillsides, they'll use pine straw mulch on the hillsides because the needles kind of lock together and they're not when we get rain or wind, they're not washing down the hillside. They stay in place, and so that's another benefit.
That's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
That's because mulch on hills is a big problem.
Yeah, and
doesn't
then
work.
The other thing that our customers really like is that pine needles and pine straw mulch doesn't carry or harbor mold spores. So hardwood mulch, typically you'll see like, when it's wet or summery time, you'll see mounds of mold or fungus
And it
that's
spits.
growing.
It spits on your car. It spits on your
The
on your
artillery,
house.
I think that's artillery fungus.
Is that what
does
it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm
Wow,
learning
that's
so
I
much
never knew that was a real thing.
Yes. And it's very hard to get off.
It is. It's like sticks.
Yep.
It's like glue. Wow, this is fascinating. I know I'm going to have to switch to this come springtime.
Most people that switch never go back to anything else because it is so user friendly and beautiful, and
It looks beautiful.
yeah.
I mean,
I
yeah,
just didn't know that we could get it in this area.
yeah, the aesthetic is so cool. I mean, it does feel like you're down south, which but some of the landscaping down south, especially like the Carolinas, it's so unique. I mean, and the stuff doesn't survive up here, but this kind of brings that additional piece to the area, and it seems like it's a heck of a lot easier to maintain. I mean, and by the end of the season, the mulch looks like crap anyway. Like it's all like the color's all gone, you know, and then it's like wintertime. Like I can just imagine like a colder day, this would even look a lot better if it was, you know, like a week or two ago. So
Yeah, it does stay looking a little bit nicer. It has a slower decomposition rate than hardwood mulch, so it does stay looking nice longer. And
What's the recommended thickness? Now, when I'm looking on your website and I'm looking at some of the pictures, it looks kind of thick and fluffy, which looks really nice. Does it maintain that, or do you have to kind of like fluff it up a little bit on occasion?
So when you first put it down, you spread
Tease
the
it.
yeah, tease it right. When you first put it down, it does look a little puffy, just because there's air in between the needles. But that does go down quite a bit after about a week or so, and after we get a rain. Some people wonder if they have to spray it with water or pack it down, but no, it will just settle down. And you don't have to tease it or fluff it. It just settles down into like a nice layer. But you asked about the depth. So typically we recommend about a 2.5 to 3 inch depth, which is standard in mulching for any mulch. And so each of our bales covers about 40 square feet at a depth of 2 to 3 inches.
Wow. And what does turnaround time look like from when if you go on and order it? When would you get your order?
It just depends on, what our delivery schedule looks like. Typically, we can deliver within anywhere from 2 to 5 days.
Wow.
Unless it's for a large order. We do everywhere from smaller order residential orders to larger tractor trailer orders, which is like 1,500 bales.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I think we're getting a Zillow call here on the radio show somewhere. I don't know, maybe that's Gabe. So I mean, to me, this is such a cool product because I love the look. Like for someone like me, the look is really what I'm going. Like I'm going to get a landscaper to put it in. I'm probably not going to do this myself, but it's so much different looking than everything else. I mean, is that where do most of your customers come from? Do they want the sustainability? Do they want the look? What are you finding is the big appeal up here?
A lot of our customers are focused on, the environmental benefits of using pine straw mulch. But we do have a lot of people who just want something different. They're tired of getting a big pile of mulch dumped in their driveway and having to chip away at it for an entire week, where they can spread the same amount of mulch in just, a couple hours versus something that would take them a week. The other reason a lot of people choose pine straw mulch is for the weed control. So they'll use it under not only in flower beds and around bushes and shrubs and that kind of thing, but they'll use it in wooded areas to keep the weeds down.
That's
pretty interesting. I hate weeding even more than mulching, so this is
Yes.
really good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sustainability thing is huge. And I feel like oftentimes if you're maybe picking a more sustainable choice, you're kind of, I don't want to say giving up something, but in this case, it's lighter, it's easier to spread. Plus the added benefit of being able to stand up to the rain and high winds, and it's making a sustainable choice also an appealing look, and it has there's a lot of benefits there. So that's great.
If you want to order this, the website here, it's midatlanticpinestraw.com. We're going to make sure we plug this a couple times, and we'll get it out on the social channels. So, and you can do it all through your website, right? Like, so talk about, like, if someone wants to order it or get in touch. I mean, it's pretty easy to do from what I can tell.
Yeah, so you can order online. You can order anywhere from, a couple bales and pick it up in Downingtown at Maxwell's Hardware, which is our pickup location, or you can order a pallet if you are out of state and you want to have it shipped. We do deliver to a lot of the surrounding areas like Delaware, New Jersey, D.C., that kind of thing. But if, say, you're in, somewhere in Ohio that we can't get to with our truck, you can order a pallet and we can ship that to you on LTL carrier. Somebody would go to the website and order, and then order comes to us, and then we put it in the delivery queue and get that out for delivery. We also sell a box of pine straw. So some people want a smaller amount and they don't want to pick it up or have the bales delivered, so they'll order a box, which is the equivalent of 3 bales if they just have a very small area.
Got it. Okay.
To do. Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes sense for like people, especially around here, because some people only have like a tenth of an acre yard. They got a couple flower beds in the front, so that's awesome. So you mentioned you're a women-owned business. So like, talk a little bit about that in today's environment. I mean, especially being in landscaping. So I mean, have you had any challenges there, or has it been easy to gain footing and gain traction here? I'd love to kind of talk a little bit about that before we close. We got about 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So being a woman-owned business, the biggest advantage that I find is connecting with other women-owned businesses and just getting to know those customers and other people that work in the industry. I enjoy getting to know the customers and go out on deliveries as much as I enjoy finding new distributors and getting them set up and that kind of thing. So there are challenges for sure. People are not always as welcoming as you would think in that type of an industry, but I haven't really had any stumbling blocks that are too big that I can't conquer along the way. Most people are pretty receptive, and if anything, it works to my advantage because, people are intrigued by a woman who owns her own business and can do all of the things that other people in the industry typically do and talk about trucking and backhauling and all of the things that people don't really expect you to say. So, it's and I encourage people to call us with questions and that kind of thing. And we're always hiring too. So if we're always looking for delivery drivers and that kind of thing. So if anybody's interested in that, I'm always open to talking to anyone.
Love it, love it. So again, it's midatlanticpinestraw.com, and they deliver to Pennsylvania, New England, Midwest, Mid-Atlantic states here. So we got some phone calls going off. It's busy season for realtors here. No worries. So it's midatlanticpinestraw.com. All over the Northeast is what I'm hearing. Kat, anything else you want to add here before we wrap up, or anything else people should know about your company?
No, not really. Other than the fact that we do have a pickup location, like I said, in Downingtown. We have pine straw all year, so
awesome.
Even in the winter months, we are busy. And so check us out. Stop by Maxwell's Hardware. Check out our website. We're on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and happy to be here.
All right, so it's midatlanticpinestraw.com. What's the Instagram handle, real quick?
It is at Pine Straw.
At Pine Straw. Easy enough. Very cool. So that's it for this week. Kat, thanks for coming on. Awesome stuff. If you guys are looking for mulch, get some pine straw. I'm interested. Sounds like Stacey's already sold.
Yes.
You want to follow us or the team, just Google Tom Toole Sales Group. You can follow Sarah. It's at @Ty_Ty Time. You can follow Stacey at the number 2Mitchco.com, or at 2Mitchco, sorry, and that's all on Instagram. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD. Check out our website. It's TomToole.com. Again, we work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, and this is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.